So ComMaker was nice enough to send over their B4 20-watt fiber laser for me to check out and make this video about it. And if you're not familiar with what a fiber laser is, it's basically a type of laser that can actually engrave onto metals. But with that being said, it's not limited to just metals, as you can see. And it's able to do this extremely fast, with some really nice details. And what you're seeing right here is real-time engraving, so I'm not speeding this up whatsoever, which definitely isn't bad for only 8 seconds. And there is a little bit of assembly required with this laser, but here's everything that comes in the box. And it even comes with a secondary lens, and your lens will dictate how big of a work area you have, along with accuracy, so it's definitely nice to have both options. They also included a handful of test materials, so at least you'll have something to use and test out, so you can get a hang of using the laser itself. And all the parts of this laser are actually made out of metal, and everything feels nice and sturdy. But anyways, let's get this whole thing put together. And it does have a pretty good instruction manual, which was easy enough to follow. And here it is all set up. And honestly, it has a pretty small footprint, especially if you compare this to my 50-watt laser, which definitely takes up a bit more room. And I even put it on its own cart so I can move it around. And this B4 laser engraver does have a 50-watt and 60-watt option with the same form factor. So if you need that extra power, you have that option. But anyways, if we look at the front of the machine, you can see that it has some very simple controls, like this emergency stop button, which will cut all powers of the machine right away, and it has its main power button on the front as well. And these other two buttons are focus controls, and these will allow you to raise and lower your laser head. And even with this being powered, you can see that it moves pretty slow, but this does help with dialing in your focus to make it perfect. And there's even a hand crank at the top if you need to move this without power. And it does have some laser guides that will help you focus this to the material you're going to be engraving on. And you just want to make all of these converge to one point. And you can see the two laser pointers on the underside of the laser head. And out of the box, these are set up for the 110mm lens, and can be readjusted if needed. And they do have the focus point on the side of the machine as well, in millimeters, so you can set that up easily. And surprisingly, they actually took the time to write this in the book as well, along with the focus point for the other lens. And they also go over in detail how to do this yourself if you need to. And there's also two buttons on the front of the laser head, and these are to activate the red lights, or to start your laser engrave without having to use the computer. And you might have noticed that there's a handle on top of this, and that's because this entire laser head can come off and be used handheld. And that's why the cable on the back of this is extra long. And it also comes with this little cage that kind of just bolts on around the lens. That way you can make sure you're always in focus. And I honestly don't see myself using this feature very often, but it's good to have. And to actually operate this laser, you do need to use a computer, with either some free software called EasyCAD, or a paid software called Lightburn, which is a one-time fee of $150. And I use Lightburn with all of my lasers, so I'll be using it in this video as well. This did come with these little metal sheets to do testing on, but I'm going to use it as a backing for now, so I can do a material test engrave, and this will help protect my work area just in case things get too hot or go through the metal. And I really suggest doing this to every material you're going to be engraving on. It pretty much takes all the guesswork out of doing this. And this is just a simple stainless steel card. And if you look in the manual, they actually have some settings that will change the color that you can engrave on stainless steel, by mostly just changing the frequency. And it would be helpful to have more examples for other materials as well. And this is the same material test on an aluminum business card. And you can see it actually made a hole through it at one point. So definitely another good reason why you want to do this. And when you're using this laser, make sure that you have some sort of ventilation set up, because you're burning metals and you don't want to be breathing that in really. And I'm just using some ducting and inline fans and pushing the exhaust outside. And since we're on the topic of safety, make sure you're using eye protection with this as well. And seeing that this laser came with some, I'll be using that. And you might have noticed that there's a lot of threaded holes on the build surface. And this is so you can mount your guides to it and set up your parts in the same spot every time. So if you're doing a bulk order, everything should come out exactly the same. And if you are making things in bulk, it does come with a foot pedal that you can use to start up the laser and keep both of your hands free. And of course, for the video's sake, I'm using my hand to start this, just so you can see it in action. And with these kind of lasers, you can do vector line work, or you can do full-on pictures that will come out in grayscale. And there's definitely a lot of trial and error when it comes to these, but once you figure out your settings for the material you're working with, you can get some really nice results. And even with this engraving, I don't have it tuned in perfectly, and you can see the card kind of warping, but the end result still looks pretty good. I just need to turn down the power a little bit. You can also use this to add or remove markings from tools, or really any material that this laser works with. But getting rid of markings isn't the cleanest process, as you can see, but adding them to a clean area is a really good way to add a professional touch to things, as you can see on this brass part. And you can also use this on 3D printed parts, so you can add some finishing details and make things look a bit more finished. And I really do think it gives you a leg up on other people 3D printing parts and making products out of them, and only takes a few seconds to do. And if you're wanting to do round objects, you can set up a rotary tool with this, and you pretty much have 3 different options. And the one they sent me with this laser is just a basic 3-jaw rotary, and you can bolt it directly to the machine. And I set this up with an expandable mandrel so I can engrave on a ring. And with my first go of it, it did work, but it didn't come out great, and there are some mistakes on here. And if you look in the software, there's a lot of settings that you can go through and change, so I did mess with some, and it came out a little bit better, but still not perfect. So like most things, it's just going to be some trial and error. And you're not limited to just doing rings with this setup. You can use this on basically anything that will fit. And if you're doing jewelry making or metalworking, you can use this to mark designs in sheer metals that you'll be cutting out later, which definitely comes in handy. And this pretty much works exactly the same as the templates I designed, so anyone can mark out complex shapes without any trouble. But honestly, the laser can do a lot more than my templates can by marking the part and adding a bunch of details, all at the same time, and this laser can engrave pretty deep, so you really don't have to worry about this wearing away over time. And at the same time, this laser can be kind of gentle and clean off rust from your tools without damaging them. That also means if you want to use this handheld, you can clean off rust from much bigger objects, which you might see me doing in a future video. And if you want to protect your work area when doing this, you can just put down a normal piece of white paper, because this laser will not affect it whatsoever. And you can see how well it cleaned this piece off, compared to how it was. So just another use case that I wanted to make sure you knew it could do. But overall, this is actually a pretty nice laser setup. And as you've seen in this video, it has a lot of different uses. And it seems to have a pretty high build quality. And these type of lasers are meant to last a very long time. And as you can see on the screen right here, they claim that it has a 100,000 hour lifespan. But at the same time, this is not a cheap tool. It's about $2,000 for the 20-watt laser. So if you're going to be using this for business and making money with it, then this price isn't that bad. Especially if you're comparing it to something like the LaserPecker 4. That seems to be usually around this price, but this is only a 2-watt laser compared to the 20-watt laser on the B4. So even with the almost $500 difference, the B4 laser is going to blow the LaserPecker out of the water every time, along with saving you hours in engraving time due to the power difference. But those are just my thoughts on my past experience with all of these different lasers. And the ComMaker B4 just happens to be the best bang for the buck right now. And as of recording this video, everything is on sale for Black Friday. So you can get this laser for even cheaper using their discount code on their website. But I'll have links to everything down in the description of this video so you can easily find everything. Well, I think that's about it for this video. So if you have any questions, leave a comment and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. And thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Bye.